most of them out for a lark on the lake. 18 people drowned in Texas this weekend. Over a dozen of those deaths occurred right here in the North Texas area on lakes like these. Adding the 18 to the 270 already dead from drowning this calendar year brings the total to 288 who've drowned in Texas this year, well on its way to top the total of 489 who drowned in Texas last year. Officials are concerned, and basically they have only two ways to attack this alarming water death rate: education and enforcement. About 3 years ago, the State Park and Wildlife Department was given the responsibility and authority to enforce boating and safety laws on Texas lakes. But for either education or enforcement, they have precious little to work with. Parks Department District Supervisor B.T. Wood told us today,
"We are hampered somewhat in the amount of people that we have to enforce the water safety regulations. Our game management officers must not only enforce the hunting and fishing regulations, the pollution laws, and to do a lot of game and fish management work in addition to the water safety work. So their time is not spent entirely on water safety enforcement, because they have a multitude of other duties to perform as well as enforcing the Water Safety Act. This means that in most counties we will have one officer working the entire county. In areas such as Dallas, we may have 3 or 4 major lakes, and one officer simply cannot patrol these lakes and then take care of his other responsibilities too. So it's a matter of lack of personnel, lack of time on what personnel we have to present educational programs, and a lack of time to do the enforcement work. We have a lot of new people coming into the area who are buying boats and motors for the first time. They're going on these lakes to enjoy themselves by boating, by swimming, or by other type of recreational pursuits, and they're not used to the water. They are untrained, they are unfamiliar with the operation of these boats. As you know, most people are familiar with traffic regulations and traffic safety, but operating boats on waters is something that's new to them. They haven't taken the time to find out what safety tips that they could use. They haven't taken the time to find out what some of the regulations are so that they can enjoy their weekends on the waters and do it safely.
like death on the highways, most drownings could be prevented if people, alone or in groups, or in cooperation with their government, cared enough to do something about it. This is Teal Salon.
Tarrant County Commissioners were met today with a double-barreled appeal for help for hungry people. Mrs. Ralph W. Estes of the Neighborhood Action Incorporated Welfare Committee says there are 3,300 hungry children in Tarrant County. She outlined a plan which she says is currently in use in Bayer County, which funnels county money and contributions from social groups and churches into the county's poorer homes. The court agreed that any money raised from churches and clubs could be administered through the Tarrant County Welfare Office. Mrs. Zeola Frederick also appeared. She came to discuss again the problems of food stamp distribution. She listed several requests from welfare recipients regarding improvements in the Tarrant County food stamp distribution program. The Fort Worth City Council today heard a debate on the proper type of electrical wiring material for use in the construction of apartment complexes. The charge was made that Romex, which is an acceptable material under the current standards, is not as safe as steel conduit. A change in the building code was sought. Opponents say Romex is perfectly safe and that steel conduit is excessively expensive. Also in Fort Worth today, 18-year-old Robert Wayne Black pleaded guilty to 2 charges of criminal assault. Criminal District Judge Dutch Winters assessed him 40 years in prison on each count. The sentences will run concurrently. Jerry Taff, Channel 8 News, Fort Worth.
a program was set up 30 years ago with the best of intentions. But over the course of many, many years, that program has become antiquated. And it now is an inefficient, very expensive kind of a system, which has a number of characteristics which people find offensive. I mean, who do you know that is fond of the welfare system? There's a great deal of goodwill in this country to do something for poor people, to do something for the aged, to do something for the disabled, the people that can't support themselves. But you don't find people supporting welfare anywhere in the spectrum. And I think what we've got to do is find a new means of getting income to people, a means that has some dignity about it, a means that actually provides a sufficient income for them, and does so with the minimum of red tape and the minimum of expense.
In 1967, an election of this nature was held, and it did fail by 39 votes. This time, we're trying to inform the public as much as possible as to our needs and what the consequences will be if it does fail.
What do you do with the deficit in that case?
In this case, as the council has publicly stated, there will be a tax increase of something in the neighborhood of 40% if it fails.
The Citizens United for Fair Taxation in Arlington are opposed to the sales tax because we feel it's an unjust tax, that it taxes low and middle income taxpayers in Arlington and subsidizes, in effect, large industrial and commercial interests in the city.
City officials say that they're going to have a deficit in the city unless they get the sales tax. What is your position on that?
Our position on that is that there may very well be a deficit in the city unless we find new revenues.
For a $10,000 home, it'll cost $40 a year, and let us say for $3,000 in contents, an additional $15. So we're talking about $55 a year, or less than $5 a month for insurance that will become available that you just can't get now. No insurance company will insure in a flood area.
When will it become available?
We hope that we can get all the ends put together and establish the criteria and make it available around September the 1st.
Does this mean that we're going to stop working for a levy along that area?
Certainly not. This insurance is only a relief measure, and it certainly will not solve the problem permanently.
They considered the passengers more than they are the drivers. Then we have had one driver to be killed here during hijacking. And there has not been another driver killed in the state of Texas, and 3 other companies in the state within the last 6 months have gone to the lock fare box or the exact fare.